Hey friends, welcome to the Nurture Duck. I'm Ray, and I'm so glad you're here. This channel is your go-to for quick and easy DIY projects, fun crafts with my new Cricut machine, and anything else that brings creativity and joy into our lives. So come along with me, and hopefully you find some inspiration from watching and learning on my channel. Today, this video is about me diving into a project that's super close to my heart. It's a board and batten design that I added to my half bath. On a difficulty scale of 1 to 5, 5 being pull your hair out really hard, I'd give this one a solid 3. Why? There's some hole filling, sanding, and painting involved. But trust me, it's totally doable. And I'll give you the step by step throughout the video. And here's the kicker: I tackled this project just 2 weeks before hosting Thanksgiving dinner. And yep, I might have been a tiny bit ambitious. And oh, while I was at it, I was painting my kitchen island for the first time. Spoiler alert, that video is coming soon. If I can pull this off with a packed schedule, you can too, promise. So, step one of this project is planning, also known as the research rabbit hole. I started with a ton of research, so many questions, lots of things I did not know. And the way that I am, I'm a Capricorn, I like to have all of the details before I start something just to make sure I'm not surprised, right? So, some of the questions I had: what style do I want? Total news to me. There were so many different types of styles that you could choose from. What size board should I use? How do I measure everything? What tools would I need? And do I have those tools? And if I don't, how much will those tools cost me? Which I then have to factor in the cost of this whole bathroom renovation, right? And here's something I learned the hard way. A lot of these DIYers that post videos and blogs assume you already have all the tools. Spoiler, I did not have all the tools. So those little things that say, oh, the project only cost me $200, not super realistic if you're starting from scratch. So let me just put that disclaimer out there. I will list the tools that I used. If you do not have those tools, you will have to purchase them, right? Um, and to save you for from some rookie mistakes, I'll link my newbie DIYer survival kit, like I like to call it, in the description. It's been a game changer for me as I slowly build up my confidence in my tool collection. For this project, I spent around $500, not including any tools if you have to buy one, mostly on paint, the small little supplies like caulk and things like that. And let's be real, buying the wrong type of wood the first time. Mistake alert, there's a huge price difference between poplar and pine, and it matters. And you'll see the tool kit that I purchased is Ryobi. I No offense to those that use all the fancy name brand tools. The Ryobi one that I purchased worked very well for me. It's easy to use, it's small, and I just feel as if that brand is ideal for someone that is just starting, right? As you move on, you may buy a DeWalt, or I forget the brand that's red, but the Ryobi green and black suited me just fine. So check the description for details on that. Next up, step two, I call it, just lock it in the design. Once you decide what you want, what feel are you trying to get in the space. I wanted a spa-like vibe, right? Serene, stylish, totally relaxing. And I stumbled on this amazing website called Inch Calculator, where it has all these different types of projects that you can choose from, and then you enter dimensions of your space, and it'll basically just spit out what your placement should be for your boards and things like that. And it took all the guesswork out of it for me. Total game changer. I'll link it below for you. I'm not getting anything out of it. It's not sponsored or anything. This is my first video, so obviously it's not sponsored. But when I found it and I thought it was valuable, I just was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this website in my arsenal and keep making sure that I refer back to it. So definitely make sure that you do the same. Step three, picking paint and materials. Now is the time for shopping, right? So the paint, after trying a ton of samples, I absolutely fell in love with Sherwin-Williams sea salt. I felt that it was a soothing color while still being rich. And I think their description said it was a muted green with blue undertones, and green is my favorite color. So it was a perfect fit for me there. And it was exactly what I envisioned for the spa feel that I was going for. For the wood, kept it really simple. 1x4 common boards for the horizontal and vertical design. And then right at the top, the little cap or the small ledge was just 1x2. Right. And then you have, what else do I need? I didn't use liquid nails. I just use brad nails, right? And that is it. Paint, caulking, and the boards, and wood filler. Sorry, you would need wood filler as well to fill in the holes made by the brad nails. And quick tip, if you use different sized boards and you're also using the inch calculator website, just adjust your measurements to account for the spacing, because your boards would be different. Measuring, the next step after you have all your supplies, or you could even make sure before you go and buy the boards, you could measure so you know how much board you would need to purchase. But if you think you're going to do more DIY projects, then you could do like I did. I knew the sized boards that I wanted. So I bought extra just so I can use the remnants in my future projects, which I'm doing right now. But measuring is the true MVP of any DIY project. Measuring is everything. Even in my new build house, the wall in the bathroom that looked straight were not square. So if you measure on the far left side and you get, let's say, 40 inches, and you measure all the way on the opposite end on the right side, it is not 40 inches. It's like 40 and a quarter, 40 and 3/4, right? So measure each piece individually for your vertical slats, and double check everything and write it all down. Trust me, future you will thank you. And wherever you have a slight gap, once the wood joins together, you can caulk it, but you don't want the gap to be so dramatic. No amount of of caulking or wood filling would fix that, and you're going to end up wasting material. The next step for me after measuring is cutting and putting it all together, right? I use my trusty Ryobi miter saw, and again, that came in that one DIY kit that I bought from Home Depot. The miter saw is small, but it's mighty. It does the job. And to make things manageable, I worked one wall at a time, right? So once I did the measurement, I installed the board vertically first, I mean horizontal first from left to right, and then I installed the vertical slats underneath it once the horizontal slats were installed. This I found was easier for me, make things clean, and I didn't have to worry about potentially increasing the height of the board and batten once everything was done. For assembly, you'll need a level of some kind. If you have a laser level, that is the best way. I did eventually end up getting a laser level for this next project that I'm doing, but for this one, I just had a long level stick that I used, a brad nailer. This project, I did use a 2-inch nail. You don't need a 2-inch nail because your board, if you get a 1x, your board is 1 inch, and most of the time plywood is about 3/4 of an inch, so you can get a shorter nail. So you want to make sure you don't get a nail that's too long because you run the risk of puncturing something behind the wall. As a safer bet, there are other tools out there other than the stud finder. You could use, I'll put the link below. I did purchase that. Again, there's another one that I just bought. There's a tool that you can use that it can detect if there are pipes or electrical conduits behind the drywall, so that way you know when you're nailing things into the wall, the caution that you have to take. And a pro tip, when you're nailing the boards into the wall, listen to me, pro tip, like I'm a pro. When you're nailing the board into the wall, don't nail them left to right, left to right, left to right. You want to do like a zigzag pattern for a better hold, since you don't necessarily need to nail the board into a stud. When you're nailing it into the drywall, let's say you puncture, you drill the brad nail in at 10 o'clock, then your next, if you're looking at a clock, right, the next nail is going to be at, let's say, 3 o'clock, right? Then the next one is going to be at 7 o'clock, kind of going in like a Z pattern to ensure that that's fully into the wall. You don't want to go crazy with the nails because that's more holes that you have to fill and sand, but just keep that in mind when you are nailing in the boards. So, um, sometimes because of the angle, um, the brad nail may not go in all the way. So this would be your best friend. So I'm going to use it to tap in the nail so it's flush. So that way, when I put this on it, I can sand it and it looks good. So I'm gonna turn off the video for that part because you don't want to hear this. It's very loud. So the next step after you've assembled your board and everything is as it should be is the not so fun part, in my opinion: filling in all the holes, sanding, and painting. All of this, definitely not my favorite. At least the filling the holes and the sanding part. Painting, not so bad. But here's a trick. Um, when you get ready to sand, attach a shop vac to your automatic sander, so that you can kind of keep the dust under control. Please, 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 please do not attach an in-home vacuum to your sander. It is not made to capture that amount of that fine particle, and you don't want to, damage your in-home vacuum. But yeah, fill in all the holes everywhere that you see holes, depending on the type of wood that you purchased. If you have any imperfections on the face of the wood, you can fill that in as well. And I'm sorry I didn't get videos of me doing that, but you put as little as possible an amount of wood, of wood filler on the hole, just enough to fill it so it's even with the board itself, so that you don't have a lot of sanding and dust that you have to kind of go through. And once all that is done, um, you fill in wherever two pieces of wood meet. If there's a slight gap, you can fill it with paintable caulk. And again, further down in the description, you'll see the name of the one that I used, but you want to use a thin bead of caulk because it's less messy when you're running your hand down to seal it. You don't have caulk kind of seeping through the edges of your wood, right? So just a thin bead, and there's instructions on the caulk and bottle as to how you should cut it because it's at an angle in a really thin piece. So you need the caulk and the caulking gun. That is also what helps you squeeze out the right amount to move it down the wall. Painting is where the magic happened, right? So you should prime and then paint, but I chose not to prime my walls because my original wall was a super light color, and it was just freshly built and painted. So I didn't feel like I needed to prime, but I did do 2 coats of the Sherwin-Williams sea salt for a smooth and in my opinion, flawless finish. I even painted the trim, the baseboard trim, and the trim of the door to tie everything together. The trim of the door on the inside of the door, and I didn't paint the door either. I didn't want to go too much. And then eventually, I have not painted my ceiling, but eventually I will paint my ceiling pure white, which will help make it stand out even more. But for now, everything is as it should be. And to finish off the top of the board and batten, once the trim is painted and the caulking is in, I wanted to add a modern wallpaper. So this wallpaper I got from wayfair.com, fairly inexpensive. But because of the design and me wanting it to be seamless, I did order a few extra roll. Like I think it was a roll, maybe two extra rolls that I ordered just to make sure I had enough because I wanted the pattern to continue. It is a peel and stick. Every wallpaper that I get is a peel and stick. I recommend a peel and stick because it's easy to take off if you change your mind. And then as you see in the picture, the little vertical slats that I put in between the board and batten, that was just something extra that I wanted to do as well. And then eventually we'll change the lights and the sink as well and the mirror. But for now, this was a quick update, quick little refresh, give a mini spa feel. Final thoughts. That's it, guys. What do you think? For a rush job, I am thrilled with how it turned out. It's been 2 months since I did the install, and I feel like it still looks pretty good. I've already used some of the lessons that I've learned here for my next project, which is redoing my mudroom. And that's what I'm slowly learning with this whole DIY thing or phase that I find myself in. As you keep doing these projects, you become a little bit more comfortable with using the tools, with what type of materials or nails and so on would be what you should use next, right? So definitely learned a lot here and so looking forward to how my mudroom is going to turn out. So stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions or just want some tips on your project, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to help. And if you felt like this was helpful and you want to stick around for what else I have coming up next, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss when I post something new. See you guys in the next video. Bye.